and he had a dental, and went in the conference and laid him on the table and made him a copy. I gave it to him and he put it in the desk drawer and we all forgot about it. Well, he left. He was caught by certain. He left for promotion. I guess the best way to put it. And Sam Morgan came in. Sam Morgan and I had some issues. His children had got in trouble with the police, and the police asked me what to do, and I said, you do what you would normally do, and they did. And of course the cop told Sam Morgan that I was the instigator behind it. Since we were to his house, and he was incensed that a cop with the uniform and gun in the bed would come to his house and talk to his child. Well, that all kind of got swept under the table, but he was furious. So when he left, they needed a replacement. Lord Williams decided to put Sam Morgan as the base commander. He was under names. Sam Morgan was going around telling people the first thing he did when he got in the base commander's chair was to fire me. Well, that's not to me. So I'm looking for a job. I have several good friends in Germany who are now retired generals, and I called one Bill Barrett, and I said, hey Bill, we've gone to OTS together and gone to make school together and station together. I'm looking for a job. He said, well, we have an opening at Ramstein. We need someone. We'd love to have you. So he went to the general at Ramstein, who called then General Pasco, who was our wing commander, and said, will you release Paul? And Pasco said, hell no. Exactly what he said. And then he called me on the carpet and said, what are you doing? Looking for a job. I said, well, Sam Morgan said he's going to fire me. He said, you'll do no such thing. Don't you worry about it. He didn't. Sam had a chip on his shoulder. He played the tape and asked me what it was. I told him. And he thought, He started playing at cocktail parties, and he gave it to a British solicitor by the name of Harry Harris. Harry Harris sold it to a Japanese producing company for 20,000 pounds or some such ridiculous figure, and it found its way back to the States. That's how the tape got out. That's an abbreviated version. The memo, Larry Fawcett, as I mentioned earlier, the original guy that was working with Larry Warren, that wrote Clear Intent, was looking for, he heard there was some memos and correspondence, so he came to the base, and Jack Cochran was that base commander, and asked for copies of everything. So we didn't have anything in the file. The only copy was a carbon manifold. In those days we had select typewriters, we didn't have word processors. And I had it, it was a personal thing. And so Cochran went back and said, we don't have anything. So they went to 3rd Air Force, and General Gabriel had left. And Pete Dent, who was also a good friend of mine, who'd gone through basic commander school together, was the acting 3rd Air Force commander when the new general came in. So he got the request, and he asked the staff, and apparently the RAF liaison officer said, well, I've got something in the file. So they pulled the file copy out, and he saw my name on it, so he called me up. He said, I've got this memo. I said, how did you get the memo? He said, well, I got it from the RAF. I said, oh my God. I said, burn it. He said, what? I said, burn it. He said, why? I said, my life and yours will never be the same if you release that memo. He released the memo to Larry Fawcett. Larry Fawcett shared it with people in the States. One or two of them are in this room tonight or were. And the next thing you know, I'm at BBC 1, BBC 2, ITV, German TV, Radio Orwell, East Anglian Times or whatever it is, some people from Japan, some people from Germany, and the place went crazy. I had to go into hiding almost. I said, oh my God, that's the last thing in the world I need. I said, this is not career enhancement. I was up for promotion at that time. Anyhow, that's how the document got out. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about, I was going to do a whole lot of other things in place, and some, we don't have enough time tonight. Some of them are 15, 20 minutes long. But I'm going to go through a couple of other things. For those of you that read the Left at the East Gate, I'd like to give you some updates and some potential corrections that Mr. Warren and his cohort can put into their next book. If you take the original version and you look at page 32, he claims we had a helping hand. We had no helping hands. Helping hands is a very serious report to the subchannel, and everybody in the base would know about it, trust me. If you go to page 39, it says the base was on alert. The base was not on alert. We were at a party. Williams was at a social event. There was no alert. He shows a picture in the book of alert sign, but he cuts off the top. It says alert status. But he cuts off the bottom line because we have a slide-in thing that says what the alert is, but you can't see that because it's got sandbags up. I've got pictures of it, but I don't have time to put all that up for you. We won't get done tonight. If you go to page 42, he claims he's the captain of the motor pool. There's no captain of the motor pool. It's the security police captain. We had two, Captain Stahl and Captain Verano. Guess where they were? They were at the party. If you You go to page 43 and 44. British police were present. I have 2 letters from some constabulary establishing exactly what was in their log, what they found, and where they were. They responded twice. Once, the first night after everything was over, they came out. It was too late. They found nothing. They came out the next afternoon, found the indentations, and said, well, it looks like I'm scratching around or whatever. That's the only 2 times, and they say very clearly in their document, which I'm going to give to somebody tonight when I leave, that they only responded during that whole period 2 times. They had a serious burglary at the post office, and they had a lot of other things, but they did not respond other than that. If you turn to page 44, there were hot spots. We had them flagged and broken off with surveyor's tape. We don't use surveyor's tape. 40 people were out there. Originally it was 200, then it was 400, now it's 40. There were, at most, counting us, 25. Page 46, Gordon Williams drove out in his staff car with his staff and Don Moreland. Don Moreland is in Wales. The staff car could not have been driven down that road. We had trouble with the Jeep. And he drove into the field. He had to go over a big berm with the truck to get onto a barbed wire fence. So we had 3 police. I just mentioned that. 12 people were debriefed. Now that's certainly possible. I think there were 6. But I don't know because I didn't find out anybody was debriefed 2 years later. His security clearance was upgraded. We in the base did not upgrade security clearance. That required a lot of action, a lot of investigation. You don't upgrade a security clearance just that. Underground facility, let's talk about that. I was taken to the photo lab and put in an elevator, my ears crackled or whatever, as I went down into this big underground facility that had a UFO in it. Had medical staff that examined me, they had a cafeteria. The building he identifies and has pictures in his book is the command post. The command post is a hardened facility, reinforced concrete, sits on 3 feet of reinforced concrete with rebar in it, has glass shields around it. The door is like a bank vault, the big steel pins that slide out. There's one way in, one way out. Now there is an emergency escape hatch, but it's sealed, and we never opened that seal. That was an emergency. It could not have been the command post. We don't have any underground facilities at Fenton. Now, in the 90s, they built a new squadron building on pulled over on the far side of the field, and it may have an underground facility, but that was in the 90s, and that's nothing like is described in this huge facility. Oh, I was kidnapped and loaded into a car, a limousine, a Cadillac, or an Imperial. I was gassed, and I was taken to this facility. Nonsense. He had New York plates. He remembers in hypnosis. Why didn't somebody check those plates out back in 1983 if they didn't write a book then? It would have been very easy to verify the plates at that time. Didn't happen. Or maybe they did, and the word said place. Page 136. All the squadrons on the base had a big meeting to discuss it. Nonsense. We didn't have a big meeting on the base. Friends, you have a sidearm. We did not give security police sidearms. Law enforcement had sidearms. They got F-16s. Major Ziegler was there and fell in the mud. Major Ziegler was at the party. Air rescue was activated and flew overhead. My racquetball partner was Charlie Wicker. Charlie Wicker was a wicked racquetball player. He beat me every time. But we had a good time and we were good friends. I talked to him a day or 2 later, and he said, why didn't you call me when you put a chopper up? And if you'll remember earlier, and I misstate this from air traffic controllers, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, nothing was flying. It was Christmas time. Nobody was flying in the area. The closest track was civilian track down there in Heathrow. Nothing was in the area. We talk about cloudbusters. This is a good one. You're going to get a kick out of this part. We had cloudbusters. They call them, what do they call them? Right? I can't remember the guy's name that designed them. They actually probably do work and change onto the weather. And he saw these devices on Detmiller's base with the prayer around them. My next door neighbor was Carl Baroff, the DCM, that we commanded for maintenance. Carl Baroff had a great sense of humor and spread of character. We were very good friends. We knew when the Russian satellites would fly over. We discussed it all the time. We knew exactly what time they were going over. There were actually only 2 of them in those days. So Carl Baroff welded a bunch of barrels together and made a bunch of dummy missiles and dummy odds and ends and would paint them different colors and move them around the base every time the satellites would go over. And that's what's pictured as the cloudbusters. And even Georgina Bruni has it in her book. You'll see one in there called a cloudbuster. It is not a cloudbuster. It was a dummy designed drive the photo interpretation. People in Russia crazy trying to figure out what we're doing. Pictures in Brooklyn, underground facilities of defense. Those aren't fuel bladders. They're covered with earth for two reasons. Number one, blast protection. Number two, to help stabilize the temperature of the fuel. And if you look closely at the picture, you'll see the plumbing in front of them. Weapon storage area. He said this is where certain weapons were kept. Well, that's where we kept the weapons, yes, the bullets, so to speak, for the A-10s with the depleted uranium in them. I talked to Bud Hopkins. Many of you probably know Bud Hopkins. Bud Hopkins and I became good friends. In fact, my wife and I were house guests several times with him. And he had actually interviewed Larry Warren, and we rescued him. And his comment to me was, screening memories, induced memories is the terms he used. Many times I talked to Larry in the early days trying to put him on track to keep things going, because I wanted the books to come out, I wanted them to be right. And I just got teed up every time. But he did admit many times that he'd been meddled with. Well, we all knew that. He'd been drugged and hypnotized. He talks about somebody who committed suicide and went missing. At one point he says it was Alabama, his roommate. Other times he said it was a complicated Bible all the time and different things. And he had problems. He went AWOL and went to Chicago. We actually had somebody at that time frame do something like that. He didn't commit suicide. I went up to the police desk one night, and Sergeant Turner was the flight chief, and again, Crash McKay was on the desk with the C flight, and Craig McKay was usually the desk sergeant. And they were in panic. I said, what are you doing? He said, we had a young airman who didn't get a security clearance right away, and we put him on casual status. He got frustrated. He folded up all his uniforms, put him on the bed nice and neatly. This sounds like a classic case. Bought himself a ticket and was flying home. We traced him through Heathrow to a flight to Chicago. We just called the Chicago Airport Police. They're going to put him on a plane back because we don't want to be charged with AWOL, because that's a serious offense. You go to jail for that. We'd rather get an Article 15, which is non-judicial punishment, probably a fine or a reduction or whatever. And they got him back and sent a police car down to London Heathrow, picked him up, brought him back. He didn't commit suicide. Let's talk about soil analysis. This is a good part. There are 4 things I'm told that substantiate Larry's story. My memo. Does anybody see his name anywhere in my memo? Number 1. Number 2, my tape. Well, that incriminates him because Bobby Ball, who he claims was with him, and Sergeant Despenza, who he claims was him, was with me and on the tape. Listen to the tape carefully. Despenza security 10. And Bobby Ball was security 4 or something. I don't know. But if anybody's done gone through the tape, and I have copies in an error, they were with me the whole time. Despenza never left my side. He was in shock and so frightened he stuck to me like wallpaper. I couldn't get rid of the guys like this with me all the time. He was so nervous. The 4th thing is the best one. The field and capital Cain, where the UFO landed supposedly, which nobody else, by the way, can substantiate or verify. The soil analysis says the area was subjected to high energy or high heat, and the grass around the edge is very green. When I was growing up, my grandfather was an avid gardener, and every fall he would burn a big pile of brush and branches and whatnot. Then he would take the ash and put around his lettuce and everything. One of the main ingredients of a fire like that is potash. Potash, potassium, the 3rd ingredient in fertilizer. Now, if you've ever had a hot brush fire, they normally get something around, I say 1,400, 15, maybe 2,000 degrees, and it stays hot for a long time. The sandy soil, yes, turned into almost glass. It was crystallized. What do you think did that? It wasn't radiation, it was heat. The farmer burned brush. All the farmers burn brush. Brush is a constant problem. Anytime you leave the field set, you know what happens. Things grow. If you don't keep plowing and moving, or send a cow or something in, it's a problem. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess what? You're up to 0. I have all the correspondence from the police, which I'm going to share with my good friend who's sponsoring this. I have letters from Barry Greenwood. I'm going to read just a little bit of this. Just to say, I'm going to leave copies of all this. We'll put it in a future publication here. One evening on the phone, Larry Warren decided to confess his non-involvement in his part of the story. I'm just reading a little bit. I don't have time to read the whole thing. I would. That's what Barry Greenwood said, co-author of Clear Intent. This is Dr. David Jacobson, former professor at Temple University, who's very well known in the abduction field. He's written many books, and he was a partner with Bud Hopkins. In fact, he inherited all Bud Hopkins' files. Well, he says, I was the MC of the UFO conference in Massachusetts around 1986 when Larry Warren got up in the audience and surveyed all the UFO researchers who were doing a lousy job of researching not only Ben Waters but his personal experiences. He went on to say how he had been kidnapped, taken to some sort of room underground, and various things have been done to him. I told him we had to be very careful and so on. He later admitted that he was lying. That's Dr. David Jacobson. I have all the original documents, by the way. Here's Dr. Jacobson again, David Jacobson. Larry Warren said that Dispenza was reluctant to go public, which is true. Adrian Dispenza, who was with me, the staff sergeant, was looking to get out of the service and he wanted to get a government job, primarily in Southwest near home. It would require security clearance, and he wanted nothing to do with the UFOs. So he did not want his name mentioned, he didn't want anything to do with it. So Larry thought he should adopt Adrian Dispenza's story as his. I have an email from Adrian Dispenza. Basically what it says is, when I got back to the dormitory, the first person I ran into, they were in the same dormitory, was Larry Warren. He said, I had to tell somebody, so I told Larry my story. So draw your own conclusions, folks. He's probably going to go crazy when he hears this, but I'm tired of him putting lies out. You need to know the truth. The problem with ufology is there's too much nonsense out there. It needs scientific investigation by competent people and not a whole lot of nonsense. That's my big frustration. That's probably one of the main reasons I'm here tonight. So I've got a lot more stuff, but we're going to run out of time. And I know you all have some questions, and I'll be delighted to answer any reasonable question. So you can use the mic, but I don't know how we're going to do this. I can substantiate everything I've told you tonight, and I'm going to leave copies of everything. Now, some other interesting things I can tell you while I'm getting ready is I have all Bud Hopkins material, or most of it. I have all Larry Fawcett's material, all 800 pages of it, including postcards from Larry, and you name it, all the freedom of information requests and responses. I have all of it. Larry gave it all to me before he passed on years ago. So I have no doubt about it. We have an issue there. I can't do anything about it. You all can.
Okay, we've had some questions submitted, and I imagine we think we've sent them in from the audience. So we'll deal with these first. We've got time for some questions from the floor too. Is that Eileen Warren? Okay, so Eileen Warren, the first question you should ask, have you ever been regressed?
No, I've never been regressed. This is interesting. My last position before I retired, I had total inspection oversight of the whole Department of Defense, all services, all agencies, NSA, DIA, transportation, everything. I worked for the DODIG. My boss worked for the Secretary of Defense, who works for the President. Before I did the first program, I was approached by NBC, Unsolved Mysteries, an American program you may have heard of, to do a program. So I went to the DODIG and said, I've been approached by Unsolved Mysteries, because I used to watch it occasionally, to do a program. He said, what's it about? So I sat down for an hour and a half or 2 hours and went through it all and said, do it. So I did it. Interesting.
This is an interesting one. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Project Gwen, Ground Wave Emergency Network. In the nuclear war, the concept was that airbursts would be used to take out all conventional communication. There was a project being run at the time with a lot of American bases, which some people have thought, like a part, might have a psychological effect. So this question is, was Project Gwen being run at Benford's at the time?
Not to my knowledge, ever. A couple things I failed to mention, I just have to think of. I have statements here too. The air traffic controllers at Bentwater have come forward. Robert Hastings, who wrote the book UFO, and managed to get them to talk, and I have signed supporting statements from them. They watched, the night I was in the forest, they watched the UFO go across their 60-mile scope on the right 2, we call it, in 2 seconds, across the 60-mile scope. You figure out the speed. It came back across the scope in about 2 seconds. It buzzed the tire, the air traffic control tire, and sat near the water tower, this big rectangular water tower, not too far from the air traffic control tower, and then went into the forest where we were. The on-duty cop in the tower in the weapons storage area, we had a 40-foot tower out there with the control sensors on the fences and things, saw it too, saw it go into the forest. There was a communications man out there working, and he went ballistic. He saw it. I have his statement. The people on the ground in the weapons storage area saw it. Two of them managed to get a pair of 12-pound binoculars, and they claimed that the white objects we saw were triangular. I have their statements. In other words, two air traffic controllers saw it in the tower. Waterson picked it up. The tower in the WSA saw it. People on the ground in the WSA saw it. We saw it. All these different locations saw it. So it's pretty well established that something did happen. What's your next question?
The next one, you kind of answered. Are there any plans for everyone involved? Well, let's just take it because Cora means Larry and Jim and John and themselves. Any plans for you to get together around the table to try and sort out the discrepancy?
Why do I need to get together with someone that's a fraud? I mean, he's threatened to sue you. He's threatened a letter that said, I'm going to sue you. You're going to sue me. Let's go to court. Let's take a deposition from a whole bunch of people like that, including his two ex-wives, and see what happens.
James Gibson, I know this is real, but that's a hero of a book by Harry Harrison.
Harry Harris, my old buddy.
Anyway, I'd like to know, James, about the tunnels, the manhole covers in the forest.
I have no knowledge of anything in the forest other than what happened to me, and I've been out there half a dozen times. As I said earlier, we have no known. Now, there were some interesting things done in the base in World War II as far as airfield lighting, fuel. The munitions were supposed to be buried under the runway over there, so if it's necessary for the organization to destroy the airfield, but I don't know of any underground facilities whatsoever, other than a sub-basement in the intelligence building, and there may have been something else like that. But if we had a large underground facility like that, there were several things. You needed pumps to keep the water out as long as below sea level. You needed ventilation. There's a lot of things you needed. And we would have known that we paid the darn electric bills and the water bills.
And Dave Bournemouth, Dave Bournemouth, got a couple of interesting questions. The decision to award John Burroughs a disability pension as a result of possible exposure to UAP radiation in the forest, as cited in Project Conline, should represent a dramatic turning point in the case. However, rather predictably, the matter has received little media attention. To your views, Colonel, on the significance of this?
I have doubts that John Burroughs' physical problems have any relation to what happened in the forest. However, that being said, there are some issues. John Burroughs and Jim Peniston, as well as Larry Warren, cannot get their medical records. And I'll tell you a very good story. In 1990, I did an organizational inspection of NSA along with other people. That's the National Security Agency. The day or two before, Larry Warren called me. We were sort of on speaking terms, and I was just giving up talking to him. And he said, I'm going to the Washington Post. I'm going to blast them. They're holding my medical records, and I have good reason to believe they were. He tried every which way to get them. He had several influential senators and former attorney general and everybody else trying to get them. And it came down to the personnel center at Randolph and the people at St. Louis, the military records center, all said the NSA had them. So, knowing that he's going to go make a big noise to the world about the NSA, and we're doing an inspection, I said to Colonel Bill Shea, who was my inspector, heading up the team, I said, you tell your counterpart when you get out there that Larry Warren's about to make a lot of noise and make embarrassment. So they prepared for it. Fair enough. So Bill Shea goes out and tells his counterpart, this is 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. By 10 o'clock, I got a call from the chief of the compromise branch at NSA. And he introduced himself. I have his name and his phone number. He's probably long since retired, but he said, what's this about Warren? So I told him a little bit. And I said, well, what do you know? He said, nothing. We talked for a while. And I realized he knew more than I did. Now, back to John Burroughs and Jim Peniston. They've had issues getting treated at the VA. Whether it's related to whatever happened in the force or not, I don't know. I can't say I'm not a doctor. But Gordon Williams and I both wrote very detailed, strong letters to the VA, and they relented, and they are treating them. So they are getting treated. Does it relate? I don't know.
Another question here, which is good speculation. It's been announced that a further MOD files being processed for release at the moment. you have any views on the possible content of the files and the potential values?
None whatsoever, but I can tell you something interesting, because my buddy Nick Pope did a lot of research on this, and documents are missing from the exact time frame that we had to use the pentwise. Everything before and after that's still there. He did a lot of research. Most of you know who Nick Pope is. So, something funny. I'd love for everyone. I have no idea. Other than my memo, I have no idea what they have. I don't think they ever responded. They got caught and have egg on their face. That's the only thing I can say. They never expected it to come out either, I'm sure. Well, their people did it, so.
Are we, couple of questions from the floor?
I was just going to mention something. In my forms of slides, which come from consistently, which I thank you for.
What, Mike?
No, I like him. And Brendan Butler and Dot Street, both as ladies here tonight. The office went to the forest, PC Martin Grove and PC David King.
I do both.
You know them both, yeah? But PC Martin Grove was to tell an interesting sighting in January 1981 when he was on duty at the police station. And a guy came to the police station door. He was actually a terrified motorcyclist. And I can say that tonight was actually, as a result of the gentleman over there, we know who that motorcyclist is. And I think, Kim, would you come and answer, please? No, you'll be all right. It really takes guts to stand in front of the audience and say, tell you about cycling. Kim's brother Natter, and there's no doubt he's the same guy. Unfortunately, I haven't got any volume 8 left, so I sort of sending him, so I don't think we've got a volume 8 and share it with me. But before he speaks, we'll also say that the police inspector that wrote to Georgine Broom, and I have some photos of her in the forest, and sadly she passed away some years ago.
I'm sorry, could you speak up a bit, please? We can't hear you.
Sorry.
We can't hear you.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to say that the police inspector that wrote to Georgina Brunei, he actually had quite a very interesting sighting around the Lacey area while he was driving home one night. So, you know, it happens all the time. So, Kim's sighting is an interest because back in 1996, I had a sighting in 1996 in June of that year when I imagine I was at a local pub and I was having a pint and you've got a perfect clear night sky with 2 satellites flying over, aircraft going in, and then these two objects the size of dustbin bins bolted together, moved through the celestial arc and were gone. I didn't report it. What was the point of reporting it then? But that was tremendous, and I've no idea what it is, and it certainly may have similarities with what Kim saw. That he told me on the way home. So,
yeah.
They were right, yeah?
No, I don't want to be about Henry, but I was riding a motorbike through Ipswich late in 1981, and I'm an engineer. I did steelwork and stuff like that. I was working in Leicester. I come home to see my girlfriend in now on. I was riding through Woodbridge Road in Ipswich, and looking ahead of me, I looked up in the sky and I saw 2 huge white lights. Nothing more, but 2 huge white lights. And it just occurred to me, it just didn't look quite right. I thought, well, they must be building something. There must be a structure there. And I pulled up near the mini roundabout, near Barney Bank. And I remember I stood there, I took the crash helmet off, I thought, oh, what that is? And I looked up and these 2 huge lights were static in the air. I can't give you any idea of dimensions, sizes, but they were huge. Side by side, just literally in the air like car headlights. And then they started to move. And it was when they moved, it just made my hair stand on end because I thought there was no sound, it was completely silent. And I had this feeling, and as my wife said, you can't tell, you couldn't see it, pitch black. The light was over there, gone. Got off the motorbike, I don't think Valentino Rossi we kept up with being down through this way. I had to tell you how fast I was going, but it was quick. I went straight to the police station. I was hammering on the door to Maggie, and the copper put his head out of the window and said, "What the hell do you want at this time of night?" I said, "I've got to tell you something. I've seen something really strange." I said, "I know you've got a bit mad." I said, "I've got to tell you." I said, "Because it concerns me." And then all of a sudden, another cop pushed past him. He said, "What did you see?" And I went, "I can't tell you what the other man saw was true or not. I don't know, but I can tell you what I saw." The other cop said, "Well, what did you see?" So I've been parked up somewhere around the countryside. I think it's in Brunswick or Casketton. He said, "I can see some really strange things." He said, "I see a load of lights going across the field and everything." And it made me feel better because I thought, actually, I'm not something, and actually there was something strange in the air. Then the other cop came back to him and sort this out once and for all. He didn't believe his mate. Like anybody that's never seen anything, you've seen it once, you don't believe, you just don't know what it is. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't something I've seen before. I worked on the American air bases when I was 19 as a chef. For Costain built the concrete bunkers for the A-10 when I came, and their floors went out. And I work up there now. I've got about work business up there, been up there 15 years. I've lived in this area and I've never seen anything like it again since. Another guy run our airport, some low-flying centre that you can complain about noise or whatever. And he came back and said, "There's nothing in the sky too much stuff." So I don't know.
You know the diameter of the Earth, rather the circumference of the Earth, is just about 26,000 miles. The Earth rotates every 24 hours, doesn't it? Which means if you're on the equator, you're traveling over 1,000 miles an hour. Now here in England, you're probably only doing 800 miles an hour. Do you have any effect? No, because the atmosphere and everything is moving with you. There may be some way that these, whatever they are, find a way to integrate themselves with their craft. Because I flew 7 Gs, and let me tell you something, even with a G suit on, your vision goes down to next to nothing, and if you're lucky, you stay, you know, you can understand what's going on, you don't pass on, it's just something else. There's certainly a possibility of that. Something else that struck me after reading the book and talking to some very knowledgeable people. Everybody in the world, different places, talks about Yeti, Bigfoot, the abominable snowman. Has anybody ever found one physically, or bones, or any positive evidence other than footprints? There have been a lot of cases where UFOs have been in the area. Now, I'm not saying Bigfoot or reptilian animals or faint funny dogs or elves or whatever come from UFOs, but there's some strange connection in some way with some of that. Who knows? One other thing I was going to tell you. Actually, I got part of that from Carl Fenton. If you ever want to read a good book, it's UFOs in Water. That's a subject that's never been touched by anybody prior to Carl getting involved. But I guess the best thing I can say is there's no doubt in my mind that we are not alone. That's all I can say. I don't know what I saw. I wish I knew. I'll probably never know, and you may never know either. So, yes, I think there are some people that know, but you won't get to them. Mr. Obama won't get to them. Other presidents have tried hard. Jimmy Carter supposedly had an experience. Bill Clinton tasked his chief of staff, told him when he came into office, there's 2 things I want to know. Told Warren Hubble, the gentleman got in trouble later, but he apparently did a good job at the beginning. He said, I want to know who killed Kennedy, and I want to know if UFOs are real. And when he left office, he said, I never had an answer to either one of them. So I leave you with that.